agenda for this presentation is overseas travel. So in the presentation, we'll be discussing on the risk over the overseas travel with relation to right fit for risk, which is the Australian government rules and regulation for all the technical controls in place in correlation to ISMS 27001. And we'll be discussing this in relation to right fit for risk, which is RFFR, and from the information security controls requirements.
This is the agenda that we're going to be covering today. As you can see, there's physical cybersecurity threats, mobile device management, MFA or multi-factor authentication, then remote tracking, locking, wiping, low privileged user accounts, then user-reliant risk management controls, how to protect your mobile devices, and how a person can secure their portable device, and so much more. So why don't we get started, Prashant?
Yes, of course. Let's move on to the next slide. All good. So with the physical and cybersecurity threats, we'll be discussing about foreign environment threats, mobile network threats, location tracking, malware and surveillance, something about border crossing, very exciting, multiple travel destinations, loss of device, an unfortunate event which can happen with anyone. And we're going to talk about the signs of possible attack during the travel and after the travel on your devices.
So the first topic is foreign environment threat. So what are the basic things that's covered is eavesdropping or bugging, basically, which is a major concern in many countries and especially when you're traveling overseas. Then the second one is mobile network threats. So mobile devices, as you all know, have the potential to connect to any wireless network, right? So this can be reliable ones and unreliable ones. So there is a constant risk involved in this.
Well, Sharon, just to add before I go to the next slide, so on the previous one, the second statement, what you read about, well, our phones have a feature to auto connect any open wireless network, and it also have a feature to provide geolocation, which is automatic. In general, people keep it on all the time so that they can connect to their home Wi-Fi network or to any other network if it's saved in your phone or if it's open network. But from the company perspective, if you have a company phone, then you should not keep these features on in your phone. You should have them always off so that you don't connect to any anonymous network, any unknown network. Well, now talking about location tracking and malware surveillance. So as I talked about the location tracking just before this, so these location services can be used for an unauthorized geolocation of the user and the mobile device during the travel. So what happens is when you're traveling, whosoever is your network provider in that company, he's gonna track you. He's gonna see where are you going. Your application is gonna see, or maybe if you go there and if you install any specific application which is country specific, then they're definitely gonna track you. So the advice is to keep your geolocation, geo-tracking off, so that none of these applications or not even the network provider can track you. Have your malware up to date so that if you start receiving any emails or the SMS from anywhere in that country, which is very much specific to that country, then you should get them scanned by your antivirus software and they should go in your spam folders and you should not access this. And this happens especially with the people who have a higher position in the companies like the CEO and the CTOs of the company. It's very important to have a malware defense system installed in your phone and your laptop to avoid these kinds of problems.
All right, great. Let's also look at the figure over there, which shows the best practices for travel. So before travel, during your travel, and after you've reached your destination. So the main risk is basically after you've reached the destination. So you should always take care that the device that you had before traveling looks and feels the same after you've reached the destination as well. That is, no stickers or NFC tags, etc. should be installed or applied into your device, because this is just giving the hacker another opportunity. Isn't that right, Prashant?
Yes, you're absolutely right. You should always check your device physically for any external stickers, any extra device on your phone, any damage to your device, which could be like a very minor one. Please check for all these things before you start using your device after you reach your destination.
Yes, that's right.
So let's talk about border crossing. As I said before, this is a very interesting topic, and we don't even realize what's happening here. But look at the situation when you have given your laptop to the border security forces and they're checking your laptop, and once you cross the security check, you see that the border security force people are asking you to show you additional identities, which could be from your Facebook or maybe from your email or any other sort of ID. So in that case, you really have to show them. But have you ever thought that someone at your back maybe clicking a photograph or something of those things? You need to really take care of those things. And how about the person who's checking your stuff, person who's checking your email, person who's checking your other social media accounts? Is the right genuine person who is checking it? You really need to be very vigilant when you get into that kind of a situation.
Right. What happens if you have multiple travel destinations? Like most of you, if your destination is really far, you will have layovers, right? So let's look what the risks are. So depending on whether they travel, the security rules are different in terms of risk. And also, travelers who are visiting various countries should take additional factors into account, including layovers, really important. So companies should inform the staff of the security threats in various countries and how to avoid them.
Really important, I guess. Well, the loss of device when you're traveling, such an unfortunate incident, but it happens. And you really don't know whether the incident happened just like an unfortunate incident or it happened for a purpose. For example, if someone knows that you are a CEO or a CTO of the company and someone steals your device, then definitely it's not for the money. It's for the data you have it in your device. So based on the nature of one's profession, it's really important to identify the sensitivity of the data carried along. You're the best decision maker how and where to use your devices. It's always good not to use your devices in public all the time. When you're traveling, just be vigilant. You have to be extra cautious when you're traveling.
Yeah. Or how do you recognize the signs of a possible attack? So they can be as simple as maybe your battery of the phone, it's getting frequently drained. Or maybe unintended pictures or videos or even apps are being installed, taken, then your call logs, they're getting deleted, or maybe your data usage is getting increased, or the person who you wanted to send maybe a simple SMS isn't getting your message. Isn't that right, Prashant? So
absolutely. Very, very simple things. Especially you started seeing some ads coming into your phone, as in when you're opening an application. It's a normal application, but when you open that application, it's consuming a lot of data. It's throwing you all the different types of ads, which is not normal. It never used to happen before, but started suddenly happening after your visit, after your travel. You have to take care of all these signs. They're not something normal, and it starts happening when you finish your travel most of the time.
That's right. Not a good sign if it's in our company device, isn't it?
Oh, exactly.
That's right.
Let's talk about the mobile device management. Well, mobile device management is a MDM facility which has been provided by the company. So companies are advised to enroll a device to install digital certificates to authenticate onto the office network. When you're traveling, enable unlock passphrases to bring complexity. Especially when you're traveling, it's recommended that you don't use your fingerprint passcode kind of a thing or your face recognition. It's always advisable to use 12 to 15 character passphrase. Reduce the device idle timeout period until the device screen is automatically logged. And the organization should also limit the number of consecutive failed attempts to log in into the device. So the recommended one is like 3. So if after the 3 attempts user is not able to log in to the device, company should decide to wipe the device completely, because it's a company device. They can restore it, but it's good to wipe it to secure the data.
I do have a question, Prashant. So what is the device idle time period for it to be locked?
Sure. So various devices gives you different options. So for example, many devices gives you minimum of 5 seconds and some devices give you 10 seconds. You can choose the most appropriate one according to you. Companies can push this limit and they can have only 5 seconds for the screen timeout. But the idle timeout for your personal, and if you really have to set it out, you can have 10 seconds. That's a better time. Yeah.
Great. So 10 seconds. To continue in that, organizations should have strong controls and the proficiency in place to track, lock, and wipe their devices as much as when you get the first trigger itself. And the organization shall disable the ability for employees to print from non-organizational printers, very important, and the ability for employees to use their device camera or microphones, Bluetooth, USB, GPS, you name it. These should all be disabled for office devices.
Well, good. So we are talking about certain rare cases which a company should take care of, which is about the jailbroken or the rooted devices. So an employee can always go ahead and jailbreak or root the company devices, and this can be done for a personal use or can be done unethically, which is not right. Company policies should have the capability and the capacity to find out these devices when they connect back to the office network. Organizations should have a strong level of tracking and monitoring of the malware endpoint system, malware softwares, and the endpoint compliance softwares installed on the mobile phones and on the laptops to check the compliance level of those devices. Controls to be implemented to disable the backup mechanism other than the office backup system. So in all the devices we have seen Google Drive and iCloud, or maybe any other like OneDrive or something like that, which can really back up everything which is there on your phone. But the companies should understand that if this is available, that means their official data is getting backed up on other drives also. So they should implement such controls to block these kinds of mechanism, these kinds of backing systems on the devices, which is provided by the company.
Great. So how do I actually know that my phone has been jailbroken?
All good. That's a really good question, Sharon. So the way how it happens is when you have a device, let's take an example of a mobile device. It has got serial numbers embedded to an operating system. And when you log that device to a company policy, and that means that the device is registered with the company and it has got certain numbers with which it is verified when it gets connected to the office network. But when you do a jailbreak, when you root a device, then in that case those number changes. Something changes which changes the identity of the operating system, and in that case, by checking or by authenticating those numbers, your company can find out that this device is not the genuine device. It does have the credential to connect to the office network, but doesn't seem to be a genuine device altogether. So that's how companies can actually identify.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great. So let's continue. Organizations should configure appropriate email and Wi-Fi connectivity settings with the help of certificate-based authentication levels. And also disabling inbuilt voice recording applications that send captured voice over the internet is a big no. Most of our applications nowadays, they actually allow this and it's permitted. So the organizations should take this into account and they should disable all of this. Isn't that right, Prashant?
Exactly. Just to give you an more insight of this one specific point, well, when you install applications like Facebook or WhatsApp or any other sort of social media application, they have this feature inbuilt in their policies, in their conditions, that they have to use the mic functionality of the mic and camera functionality of the system, of the mobile device, or maybe of your laptop. However, when you receive a phone from a company, the company should actually disable these features by default, that no application should be able to use it unless you explicitly enable that feature, or maybe you need an approval to enable that feature. So this is really important when you are using your personal device and when you are using your official device. So even in the case of personal device, there are applications like certain games which really don't need access to your microphone or your camera, but by default they get the access. So you really have to go ahead and check in the permissions what kind of a permission these applications have, and if they have the access to your microphone and your camera, you should consider disabling it. Well, let's talk about multi-factor authentication. There are various types of multi-factor authentications available in the market, and I've listed all of them here. So one is the SMS tokens, which you usually receive it on your phone. Then there are authenticator apps like Google Authenticator and the Microsoft Authenticator. Then you got emails, then you got physical tokens, then you got token receiving by phone call and SMS both at the same time in some cases, SMS and email both. So, well, to summarize from all this, one of my favorite is a physical token. I'm not sure how many of you have seen a physical token, but it's just like any other token, but it's a physical device which is there with you separately. It gives you a time-based token. You see the token, you enter it wherever it's needed, and then you use it, and then after using it, you keep it in your pocket. So the benefit of this token is it's a separate device. It's not your mobile phone, it's not your laptop. With the mobile phones, I'm sure you must have seen when a token comes in, it comes in a SMS, and the SMS notification immediately comes at the top of the screen even if your phone is locked. Imagine if someone is if someone is hacking, or someone is using your phone and your computer at the same time without your permission. He access to your bank, and he authenticates it, he knows something and he tries to authenticate, and he receives a SMS token. But he can see the SMS token up on the top of the screen, and he uses it and enters in your bank app. There is no use of that token actually. But consider a situation when you have a physical token, the token is with you. Now we can't use it because the token is with you. So that's the beauty of the physical tokens, but unfortunately, because of additional cost to that token and additional responsibility of keeping it with you, it's not in use anymore. But there are companies who really want more security, they still use it.
More drastic measures which companies can apply is make sure that the computer goes to sleep quickly and it asks for a password to unlock. And don't give any employees admin access, a very big no again. Then enforce the use of strong passwords like we already discussed, and then have aggressive Active Directory group policies deployed. So everything that Prashant had explained in the previous slide, they all can be implemented with the help of this Active Directory group policy. Isn't that right, Prashant?
Absolutely. It's very true.
So all these controls, as you can see, they're simple and important, and they should be implemented by the company for all employees and the benefits.
Let's talk about remote tracking, locking and wiping of the devices from backend, especially. Well, we discussed this before that remote tracking helps to recover the device that has been stolen. Remote tracking also allows you to wipe the device from the backend. However, have you ever thought of a situation when it's not possible? Well, the MDM or any of those softwares, these softwares can only wipe your device when it's trackable. If it's not trackable, if it's not connected to internet, the new company cannot wipe the device. That means your data is in unsecure hands. It's not protected anymore. Well, let me give you an example how it happens usually. Now, if you look at the figure on your right, that's an iPhone and it's an iWatch. Now, with your iPhone, even if it is locked and if it's in someone else's hand, and if you drag down from the right of the screen, you'll see the control center like this. And in the control center, you can actually bring your phone to airplane mode without any problem. Once your device is out of the network, your company cannot wipe the data. Your company won't be able to track you. Your company cannot do anything. To avoid this, again, companies should enforce policies to block these kinds of things. And you can block it yourself also, and companies can also do it from the back end. So really important thing to consider. However, I think, in my personal opinion, wherever I've done the audit so far, I've seen these kinds of features are really missing. These kinds of policies are not implemented, which at times does impact the company's data, the security of the data.
Talk about low privilege corporate user accounts. So all that we're talking about here is basically a second user account which has really limited access or low privilege access. So maybe based on your role, when you're in the organization, you might need lots more of access levels and rights. But when you're traveling overseas, it's always better to have a secondary account with less privilege access so that even if you fall into the hands of a hacker or attacker, nothing could basically go wrong. So that's what we're trying to explain over here. In order to prevent an attacker from accessing sensitive data via a compromised employee's corporate account credentials or a compromised device, corporate user accounts with restricted access should be used. And also, while traveling, the privileged users should not be allowed to remotely access the organization systems that contain the sensitive data. So always, when you're traveling, limited access is better for your security.
Well, I would like to add an example to the second point here. Imagine you're a system administrator and you have access to all the servers, whichever is there in the organization, and you plan to travel for a purpose, and you're going for something. Now, you really don't need access to all the servers when you're traveling. You really don't want to work. You're traveling for a specific purpose and you need the access to only specific systems during that time. So it's good to have another ID created for you so that you can only access the limited number of devices. No matter, even if you lose your ID, something happens, you won't be able to, someone won't be able to have the access to other systems which they should not have access to. So yes, data will be lost, but the quantity and the sensitivity of the data loss will be very, very less.
Yes, I totally agree, because what if it's an IT security officer role and they're traveling abroad just for maybe a conference or something?
Yep.
They don't need all
exactly.
access, right?
Right.
Yep.
They can have a simple ID which have no access to any of the servers.
Yes.
All good. So let's talk about the network architecture control access to organization data and systems. Sounds really big, but it's pretty simple. All right, so we are talking about VPN system available these days. So organizations should deploy use of MDM to set up devices on company's virtual network. Organizations should set up custom access points to control data traveling on 4G or 5G network. By requiring devices to connect through the organization gateway, the organization may use the existing gateway mechanism for having the logs, auditing logs, filtering malicious or other unwanted networks coming into the traffic. Well, there are two ways nowadays. Well, in the earlier days, there used to be a proper VPN software through which you used to connect to the office network. But nowadays, Microsoft is picking well, and they've got VPN kind of a shield already inbuilt, and you have to perform different types of authentications before you connect to the office network. However, the purpose of both the things is to keep your data in a private tunnel. The travel of the data should be in a private tunnel. You should not be connecting your office computer or some other computer using a WhatsApp or something which is not secure or which is not a kind of office provided software. Until unless it's office provided, it's secure, you got two-factor authentication enabled on it, use it. Otherwise, don't use it.
Now, risk management controls. Have a look. Now, these are some points that every user needs to keep in mind. And let's see. Regular backup of work data, very important. Access of emails, files, and data. Then avoid unauthorized cloud services for data backup, storage, and sharing, like Prashant had already explained in terms of Google Cloud and iCloud. Then strong passphrase can be used and should be used. Avoid jailbreaking and rooting. Then employee education, very, very important. So to avoid physical connectivity with untrusted outlets or devices. And also, employees should be aware and educated about Bluetooth and near-field communication and quick response codes. Isn't it?
Yes, and I would like to add more on point number 7. Well, education on using Bluetooth, near-field devices, these quick response codes. Well, I've seen companies do provide cybersecurity education to all the new employees, and they do a regular annual cycle of performing these kinds of exercises. However, I've not seen even a single company who is teaching their employees about how and when to use Bluetooth, how to use the near field communication devices or the quick response code devices. These are very sensitive, and if they're not configured properly and if the controls are not implemented on these devices, they can actually connect with anything, and your device can easily be hacked if the permissions are not appropriate. And well, let's talk about some more points which you need to take care at your end. So employee education to avoid installing potentially malicious applications. So what it means is all the applications are available from Apple Play Store or maybe the Google Play Store. However, there are certain applications which are third-party applications, and they are available from various different websites. And they're not part of the Google Play Store, they're not part of the Apple Play Store. So you should avoid installing all such applications because they have not been penetration and they have not been pen tested, and you really don't know if there's a bug in those, if there is a spyware or a Trojan installed in those applications. And when you install it on your phone, definitely you are sending some or the other data from your phone to that company, and you don't know that. And the next one is employee education to avoid being victim of shoulder surfing. We talked about this in the border crossing point. Very important, but trust me, this happens. Employee education to avoid common intrusion vectors and avoid printing via untrusted systems. Never print from an untrusted network or never print from an untrusted printer.
Right. Then protection of mobile devices. Let's have a closer look. Now, there are some basic and important rules that a person can follow, and they're pretty simple, so you don't have to freak out or anything. So we have already discussed about this, but let's see, it's basically like a summary that we've covered here. As you can see in the first point, cover up your laptop. So basically what we're trying to say here is keep it away from the line of sight. Like what if Prashant has his laptop with him and I, being a hacker, I actually want to take his laptop from him. So basically the idea is you disguise it. You keep it inside another bag or something which doesn't give it away. And then the second one is when you're going through the airport security check, don't place your laptop on the conveyor belt unless you're sure that no one is in front of you is being delayed. So what we're trying to say is, what if you're still stuck in the previous section and they're, doing your security check and your laptop has already cleared the security check and gone ahead in the conveyor belt. So I know that the airport can be a really, place where it's crammed up and people are just rushing here and there and you can't really do much, but it's always good to be safe and to take care of such things, isn't it?
Exactly. Imagine a situation, someone picked your laptop and you don't know who picked up. And you're talking to these security forces and they know nothing and they're going to check the security cameras and still you won't be able to figure out till the time he boards the flights and goes off.
That's right. I think my laptop would have been, gone from there by then, wouldn't it?
Of course, with all your data in it.
That doesn't sound good.
All right, let's talk about another important point. Well, place your phone in a carry bag when sending it through the security conveyor belt. Another important point is never keep your laptops or your phones in the checked-in baggages. Imagine your flight is cancelled and you're traveling in a different flight and your bag is traveling in a different flight. When you reach your destination, you come to know that the flight in which your bag is traveling going to come after 2 days. So you won't be able to imagine how will you feel that time that your important data, your laptop and your mobile phone which is there in the bag, what's going to happen with it? Whether you're going to receive it or you don't going to receive it, along with the data you're going to lose there.
That's right. We'll be lucky if we receive the bag in 2 days' time.
Yep. We have heard so many incidents.
Right? Also, you should avoid leaving your computer in hotels. So basically what we're trying to say here is, I know you might be distracted or you have to go somewhere in a hurry. We might just leave the laptop over there, maybe on the bed or the desk, but just keep it always secured. Keep it away from the line of sight so that whoever is coming, maybe even if they're coming to clean the room or anything, room service, just take care. That's all. And then never keep passwords or sensitive phone numbers taped to the computer or in the case. Really bad idea to do. Then do not save passwords, credit card numbers, or other valuable information on your device storage if they are not stored in a separate encrypted file or application. And last but not the least, back up all your files before traveling.
Thank you. Well, Sharon, I would like to talk more about not to save your passwords and other information in the files or somewhere else.
Yep.
Well, nowadays we have seen there are applications like Password Manager or maybe some other applications which are used to store your passwords, and whenever you need, these applications will give you the username you used on the website or in the application. They give you the password also. But if you look at the situation nowadays, how the companies are getting hacked, every week we listen a story about some company hacked, there's so much of data loss. How can we believe that these companies are safe? There's some other third company and they're keeping all the information on their server. It's your information, your username, your password, and they're storing that information on their servers. What if these servers, these companies are hacked? You lose all your password. There are these big companies who are actually telling people via different medium that they have been hacked and you should take care of it. But these are very small companies. What if they don't even publicize this information and your data is out there on the internet? So never use these kinds of things. It's better to use a basic, simple Excel sheet. Save your username, passwords in there, but use a very strong encryption like a 15 to 20 character of a password. And if somebody tries to steal that, a 20 character password to hack a 20-character password, it will take him like 2,000 years to crack it. So you'll be sure that it's safe.
Great. Thank you so much, Prashant.
Yep.
Now, how can I secure my portable device?
Okay, so very basic things, simple things. Lock your portable device with a PIN or biometric. Use a 12-character passphrase for optimum security. Regularly back up your files. Encrypt your portable device. Ensure your portable device is set to automatically lock after a very short period of inactivity, like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. If you find a random cord or a USB device, don't plug into your portable device. Don't give it to your friends to plug in and check. Simply hand this over to your IT help desk. They can check, they can identify whose device is this, and they can securely treat the device. Now, treat your portable device like your wallet. Ensure you thoroughly remove sensitive and personal information from your portable device before you sell or dispose of. This is a very important point when we go and sell or dispose of our devices. We simply go ahead and reset the device. When you do reset the device, it does not actually remove all the information from your device. Resetting is resetting of the applications. It does not remove your iCloud ID or in certain cases your Google ID from certain applications. So you really have to factory reset the device, not just resetting the device. If possible, ensure the encryption method is used on your laptop and include pre-boot authentication, which makes it really difficult. And this pre-boot authentication is before the Windows authentication. So it's the extra layer of protection before you log in.
Coming back to the USB devices, so do you think for an organization, better if they disable the USB port for their stuff?
Better idea. Yes, nowadays most of the companies are doing the same thing. If you need access to USB device, get the permission, get the approvals, and then you get it. Otherwise, you don't have the permission. And very brilliant idea to do it.
Post-travel, return and inspection of the device. Very, very important. Have a look. So first things, like we already discussed, make sure that before travel and after travel, your device basically looks same. And by that I mean there are no additional stickers or NFC tags, etc. on it. The second one, upon completion of travel or reaching your destination, the employee should return the mobile device and any portable media to the device issuing officer as soon as possible. The device should not be connected to an office network till the employee's mobile device is scanned with a mobile device integrity validation tool to identify changes to the device OS, maybe the software, the applications, the firmware, and the hardware.
Well, Sharon, I would like to talk more about point number 2 here. Well, this is again another thing which companies are not taking care of these days right now, which is they should implement such policies wherein they should track people who are traveling. So if they're traveling and when they come back, they should know their return date. And when they're returning to office, by default, their phones should be disabled to connect to the office network. And if that's not the case, then they should provide education to the user to give the device for a thorough checkup after the travel is done. Reason being, well, there is no, you check your device that there is no physical damage. There are no NFC tags. There are no stickers installed anywhere. And your device is exactly the way you took it. However, you were connecting your device to your hotel network and maybe some other places. Now, a Wi-Fi network is a kind of a communication which is a two-way communication. You're receiving the data and you're sending the data. Now let's talk about the receiving end. Now what if there is someone sitting in the hotel network and he is sending you a Trojan or a malware or a spyware using that Wi-Fi connection, and your device receives it and you really don't know what happened. You won't come to know that there is a spyware or a Trojan installed in your presence or maybe in your absence on your phone. And when you come back, you connect to your office network. Now this device starts stealing the office information and start sending it to wherever it has to. So it's really important that the device should get checked once it comes back from the travel. Well, there are other ways. Well, you will have the antivirus software installed, but at times these softwares do fail because of the update failure or some other reason. Or maybe this is a new version of a spyware which has not even been looked out by the antivirus company so far.
True. And I also remember that simple example where maybe the battery drainage is becoming very frequent.
Exactly.
Right? I wouldn't know that my mobile is getting.
You won't
hacked
notice
or
that.
anything.
Right.
Exactly. But what do you think leads to such a simple thing?
It's all because of ignorance at times, and at times you won't even come to know. Because Wi-Fi is such an important thing, you can't really live without Wi-Fi these days. Exactly. And you really have to connect. And when the network is not secure and it's not a legitimate or a known network, you really don't know what's happening. That's why it's always advised not to connect to open networks, and always try to first find out which network is the legitimate network when you're connecting to any other network outside your comfort zone. Well, let's talk about what to do next when your device is compromised. Well, very tough situation, but it does happen. Well, the first thing is immediately call your manager, report the case, then call your help desk, tell them each and everything, log a proper case, send them an email, report the incident, brief the incident as much as you can, describe the incident as much as you can, detail everything, give your username to them, give your phone details to them, how it happened, when it happened. Try to be more precise about the timings and let them check. So it goes like keep calm and call the help desk. Well, thank you all for listening to us.
This is just some of the services that we provide. So as you can see on the left-hand side, it's all the consulting services. And the right-hand side, we also do occupational hygiene services. So please do make sure to check out our website. Also make sure to check out our website. And if you have any queries or if you want to get in touch with us, please use info@anitechgroup.com. Thank you so much for listening to us, and I hope this has been enlightening for all of you, isn't it, Prashant?
Yep. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks for joining.